Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Alex here, and today I wanted to talk to you about the tracks on my new EP, which is forthcoming on Ghost Snares, due for release all over the internet on the 24th of April 2023. There are 4 tunes: Hypnotise, Channel X, Receiver, and Look Ahead, all jungle, drum and bass tinges, and we're just going to go through them sequentially, channel by channel. Going to have a look at how I've put the tracks together. Then we've given it a listen in its kind of finished state. We'll go back and hear the very first session for comparison. Some of them are quite different, some of them are similar, and you can hear elements that have kind of carried through and throughout the process. When I've done this, I'm going to be packing all of the project files up, and they'll be available on Patreon. So if you're on there, you can go ahead and kind of have a dig into the session, save any of the presets, save the breakbeat patterns, and you can use them in your own tunes, or you can just have a tinker with them and have a play, which I'd always encourage. So my intention when I started putting content out onto YouTube, and when I decided I was going to kind of live stream everything, or as much as I possibly could, and that was back at the beginning of lockdown when time was a bit more available than it is now, was that I would capture the process in its entirety from my very first sketch on a tune, working on it in however many sessions it took, and my thinking behind how I went about implementing any changes, right through to kind of preparing it for release. These tracks have definitely fulfilled that, because a few of them I'm pretty sure I started on stream. Certainly Look Ahead, because I can remember a Patreon supporter leaving a comment in the chat about what we should call it. Thanks, Baldwin. That's carried on right through to the release. But all of them I have worked on at some point on stream. I think I even kind of did a mix and a master of Channel X. I will create a playlist of every session that I can find, every live stream that I can find, and put it together, and I'll link it in the description so you can watch back through and see how I kind of worked on the tracks in real time. But here we are with them now. They're ready to go. I've heard the masters. They're sounding really sick, and I'm really happy with it. And it's cause for celebration, because it's not every day that you get to release tunes. There's certainly at one point in the past, I would have thought it incomprehensible that I'd ever finish anything and ever get it released, let alone send it to anyone, let alone anyone else release it. So I think I've fulfilled my intention of demonstrating that if I can do it, so can you, so can anyone. It requires persistence and practice, but you can get there, and you can get to the point of releasing music that you're happy with. So we're going to do the same thing for each track. The first one up is Hypnotise. I'm just going to play it from the first drop, maybe dig into the second, and we'll just go through it channel by channel. So let's give it a listen. breeze variation. With these kind of breakdown moments. Yeah, but I certainly think that gives a flavour. What's quite comical, actually, about this whole intention of capturing everything is that now I get kind of copyright claims against my original live streams where it's picked up me working on the tune. I messaged Pete from the label saying everything's getting kind of copyright claims against it because now that it's been put onto the platforms ready for release. It was totally what I wanted. Yeah, it's quite comical. It happened with All Night as well, which was the same thing when I did a track breakdown on it. Yeah, I think it's a pretty straight up Amen, Reese, atmospheric, dark jungle tune. We've got the Om Unit chords pack providing the kind of main melodic material at the beginning. And these are great. This is just from the sample pack. And I have them kind of racked up here. I won't put that on Patreon. I'll just kind of bounce down the sample. And then if we have a look over here, yeah, it's going to some reverb on, or echo even. There's quite a lot of reverb on the sample already. And it's worth probably talking about these gated kind of vocals that I believe these were created by gating them to a drum pattern of some sort. I think I actually gated it to a break or even perhaps the bossa nova. Are they congas or there's some sort of like Latin percussion? Very Sully-esque, but are gating them to that to give this kind of vocal effect. That's going to some echo, and also occasionally to the Echo Boys Galaxy. I know this is that. Yeah, I love that preset. But yeah, it gives these kind of really cool staccato effect. So I would have put some kind of gate on a vocal sample, probably with loads of effects, and then the gate was being triggered by drums of some sort, and I might have just programmed the pattern in myself, and that's a really way to get these kind of really staccato effects. There's a lot of there's even some more. Okay, there's another Echo Boys Galaxy actually on it, so yeah, it's kind of giving a huge, big, expansive vocal effect. Time stretch thing here. And some auto power, which is kind of throwing it around the stereo field. Very nice. It's probably worth talking about the Reese next. Again, it's just a sample. I know these came from an Aries pack, an Aries and Camo, I think. They're kind of a variety of bass sounds, and I've just got them all in a rack here. It's just the first one, Mayfair Reese bass, but it's just a really nice Reese. I've just got it in straight sample, so no warping. So the kind of modulation you're hearing changes at different pitches, which is quite nice effect. And then kind of, I don't want to say what I'm known for, but I certainly like to dig into the breaks in all my tunes, and the Amen is just one that I have chopped up to a sampler, and I think I have some certain chops of it that I've done some kind of, I've got quite a full break in here. I've got some additional kind of things at the end for like effects and stuff like that, where I've either kind of got the snare going backwards and forwards. We'll just give the breaks a listen on their own. There's more fills that come in at the end of every 8 bars. You hear this. This kind of reverse sync. Yeah, really nice. And that's just achieved by making the sustain mode forward and backward. Processing wise, there's just an RX 950 on it. I know with these Amens that I did quite a lot of processing before I chopped them up anyway. We also have another Amen that's kind of just providing fills. And that's just on a drum rack. That is going to some effects here. Just a delay. Just a simple delay, no feedback, so we just get kind of the one hit as it happens. I do have some room reverb, or it's actually vintage verb on the Amen. I'm actually kind of surprised that I've got that on there. But yeah, the Amen fills are kind of... I've got rid of all of the clips and stuff that would have started out on here, so this is the final mix down before it went for mastering. There is my mastering processing on here, which I removed before I sent it for mastering, and I'll talk through that in a second. But yeah, we just got kind of the Amen fills here. Then just a really simple hi-hat pattern with some auto panning on it. Just moving around the stereo field. This isn't an Apache, despite what the name says. It's just the Fink tambourines. Again, it sounds like it's got some delay on it and some reverb. That's the Reese's in that one as well. Just for kind of ear candy, and these effects aren't noticeable, or at least I don't want them to be. I want them to be almost like imperceptible. So there's quite a lot of pads that are coming from my own pack, made from samples taken from the Korg wave station that I sampled with my friend Tom, who's also a patron. Elkey is his production name, and he's been doing a lot of stuff with Dead Man's Chest recently, so you should definitely check out his stuff. Holocene is a great tune on, also released on Ghost Snares, so he's a label mate too. And yeah, he had a Korg wave station, so we just kind of had fun sampling all the pads. And our intention was to release a Deep Atmospheres sample pack, which is just the first patch on the Korg wave station is called Deep Atmosphere, and it's amazing. And I think we did actually sample that, and it is available. All this stuff is available on my Patreon, although it's kind of just in a first prototype state. But you've got all of these racks exactly as you see them, including the Deep Atmospheres. But yeah, Universal Wave was one from that, and it's just a pad, sampled from an actual Korg wave station, multi-sampled. With some auto pan on it. Reverb coming from the patch itself, one of my own reverbs, and some gating that I've just messed around with this, like recorded automation. Literally drawn it in. I've got another pad, Vocalese, again. Providing kind of just more melodic interest. We have a Collision, which is doing these kind of sparkles. RX 950, I'm using the filter on that. I bring it up here, I think. And that's just with Collision. It's really great for stuff like that. We already talked through the gate. And then we have these kind of just like vocal which is taken from a 0G pack. I will include this in the project file because it's just sampled from an old 90s sample CD, so, and available from archive.org. And I just kind of have chopped them all up. I didn't actually chop them all up. I found them chopped and I've put them all in this, just in a sampler, so you can kind of scroll through. It's a good one, that, actually. In fact, I'm going to save it myself because I don't have it on this new machine. Great, thanks. Cool. Okay. I'm also going to save this one. We've got some kind of effects happening on here. Again, these are different ones for each key. I'll see if I can play them in for you. Stuff like this. Jungle Warfare, they're taken from. Okay, so yeah, the different effects for different MIDI notes, and they might still be the same one, but stuff like that. Little dots and funny blips. More effects on another channel, so it's just a duplication. I would have just randomly played through them and found one that I liked. The Bossa Nova kit is a stock kit with a core kit with Ableton. It's got these really nice... Now, what are they? Let's find one of the fills. Oh, they're just a bongo. Going to an effect there. There's not a ton of automation on this tune. Probably most is coming from like the filters in sections like this. And I don't know why I will have... Okay, I used that there, did I? Sometimes it's difficult to remember what one's done in a session, especially looking back now. And then just a reverse cymbal, just a... I think this is an Ableton stock one, Splash Paradise Splash or something. Splash Paradise, it's lovely. And that really is it. It is, okay, there are some channels that I've bounced down, but it's only 16 channels. I'm making the Amen work a lot. I would have gone through in each session and kind of gone through and done all these fills and stutters. Stuff like that. And yeah, this Amen rack has loads of stuff in it. Silly time stretch cymbals. Beats mode is quite good for time stretching. On my sends, yeah, just a Valhalla vintage Verb. Quite a tight plate. I don't even think I did too much to these at all. I kind of like to trick myself that I've worked more on tunes than I have, and that they're probably ready. They're probably ready when I think they're like 70% there. And that's normally when I send them to people, actually, when I feel like a few more sessions would make me feel happy, but I'm just not sure. So when I get to that point where it kind of feels like I'm not sure what I need to do on this, it's usually when I send it out, because chances are it's probably finished and I just need to leave it alone. So on the master chain, I've got just a utility bass mono. And then we're going into my mastering chain, which has some pre-gain adjustment. I've made it mono again there. We've got an EQ8. Now, none of this was on for the release version, but you might just be interested to see these settings for what we're hearing now. A Focusrite, console, which I didn't use. A CQ, which I did use, just for a mid-scoop, slightly. kind of very slight. Another EQ, a bit of side processing. So that's just the stereo content. I like to kind of apply an EQ to that as well. Again, none of this will be on the actual release, but it's still useful. Shadow Hills Compressor, which is a plugin alliance, and I really like it. I think it sounds great on masters. I'll turn it on off. Really nice compression, and a glue compressor. More compression I've added for this. Decapitator I didn't use, and again another plugin alliance one, the black box, and I really like this. Very low mix. All of these things will have been blended in. You see we're at 50-50 on the Shadow Hills, about 25%. Yeah, 25% on the analog, the black box, which is a saturator. And then we've got some limiting. I did have an ozone on here, but I can't get that to work on my new laptop, so I've just left it off and kind of boosted the limiting here. And yeah, that is everything to say about Hypnotise in its kind of final state. We'll just go through and give a listen now to the very first session I had on it. Just go for a brief overview before we move on to the next track. Yeah, so here we are in the very first session for Hypnotise, which was actually done on the 22nd of April 2022, so almost a year today before the release date. There's not much that is different just looking at it. Although we'll give it a listen from 33 and see kind of how it's sounding. I know the bass is completely different. So I kind of kept these chords true to this very first version. It's probably a bit loud. Okay, so I changed like the bass patch. This is just like the sub from Wheel It Up by DJ Gunshot. I've definitely put that on Patreon before, that sample. Okay, that pad was in the original. Now I don't think I like that Thank You Baby. Okay, we've got a fink as well or something. Just a straight fink there. I can also recall thinking that the amens were kind of hard and choppy, and they went all over the place too much. And I think in between this, I'd worked on kind of refining my choppage and going for the kind of sampler-based hit-by-hit thing, which you could definitely do in a drum rack, but it felt like it was breaking the groove too much and it wasn't rolling enough at points. So I also kept that kind of reverse cymbal sound or idea in it, which I think really works. But yeah, it was too choppy and too stopping and starting, and the bass would have been going all over the place too much. If you look at all these notes, it's just kind of too much variation. I wanted something that was a bit more dark and dangerous and sustained and rolling. Yeah, but that's kind of the first session, and the final session. So the original kind of chords are there. It's an amen, and I kind of stayed true to that original kind of chord stab idea, which made me want to work on it again after the first session. So yeah, okay, let's roll on to the next track. Okay, so next up is Channel X, and I don't know if this is actually following the track order of the release, but I still kind of I think this could be like my most interesting track from the EP. It's quite long, clocking in at over 9 minutes. But yeah, I took a bit of a risk with this one, in that it kind of goes from this kind of rolling jungle, late 90s good-looking sound into kind of an acid, a kind of trance acid track at the end. And I remember tracking the 303 stuff using my a friend's actually Behringer clone, which I have here on the desk and kind of features in, or it did feature in my shot. Just one of these kind of cheap Behringer ones, and they're brilliant, I must say. And I can remember kind of tracking that, feeling like this was kind of, it felt like I did something different, and I didn't just kind of go for the develop the idea, stick a bass in, and then kind of break it down before having it all come in at the end. And whether or not it works, I don't know. That's kind of not really my place to decide that. I feel it certainly works as a thing. Whether or not it has a musical impact on people, I hope it does. I think it's kind of like a 5 a.m. track, really, which is what a lot of my music sounds like, but it's got kind of big ambient intro before the drums come in. Let's just check it from like 33 and then we'll skip through a bit. Kind of lots of found sounds going on, lots of pads in this one. Quite nicely until things start to kind of I'm always interested in the idea of kind of like building in gradients of sound, and like people like John Hopkins do this especially well, these kind of gradients of sound where you're not sure when one section ends and another one begins, and I really like trying to build that in, so that's kind of what I was trying to do. So I have like the acid phase in. before it goes into a bit of a kind of acid out at the end. And if I've one regret, it's that I didn't kind of do that bit longer or bring it in sooner. But yeah, we'll just kind of go through the elements in it. It's actually quite different to the other tracks on the EP in that it's got the drum pattern's quite rolling, even though it is chopped up hit by hit, mainly because I do some little staccato bits at the end. Stuff like that. I think this could be from Rhythm Labs' Noi Jungle pack, the drum loop. There's no processing on it. There is some subtle reverb. Sounds like just like a room, very tight room. Nice rolling pattern. I think we've got another break layer here. Now this could just be, is it a break? It looks like a break. Yeah. I've literally just rolled the loop out. Taking a lot of the lows off there. Again, that comes from the Rhythm Lab pack. Noi Jungle. And then another break layer again. I've just kind of rolled them out here. I didn't want it to be hyper chopped, this one. I wanted it to be a bit of a kind of crusty roller. Okay, and this is the kind of thing that I hear in like Seba tunes, where he kind of layers up the breaks, and particularly moments of like the energy increasing. Very low in the mix. And another break that comes in right at the end. Quite a ridey one. I actually think these could be from a Sample Magic. Yes, they are. In fact, all of these breaks are actually from Reworked Breaks, which is a Sample Magic pack. So, yeah, ignore my first comment. They're all taken from that. Yeah, there's some pretty decent ones in there. I've used a lot of those in tunes before. So yeah, those are the breaks. You could say I was lazy with those, but I didn't want to overwork it. I wanted it to kind of sound old school. And when I started to build in this kind of trance element towards the end, I was like, I want it to be rolling and loopy. I want it to sound intentionally loopy. Okay, and then just a C78 core kit with some hi-hats and claves. I've got some echo and reverb on them and some other effects. I've added here some delay and auto pan. Auto pan is good for these kind of stuttery effects, especially when you've got the phase down at 0, so it's kind of like a tremolo. I like the lead I managed to get out of here. Just taken from Jungle Warfare sampled notes. I'm going to save that, so I've got it in my own library. Just played in on my keyboard. It's a pentatonic. I think the key, I'm not sure the key of the track. What track are we in? What key are we in even? Let's have a look at the bass. Okay, yeah, so in kind of A flat, it will be, and like an A flat pentatonic or an F minor. Maybe we're in F minor. Yeah, that would be right. F minor, A flat major. I'm pretty sure that's what I've done here anyway. Worth talking about the pads as well. Now, yeah, these are taken from the 2K Soundboy pack. And I will have kind of racked all these up and just played them and layered them up. And they're really nice pads. Got this water pad. Lush, eh? Lush. Yeah, that's a great pack, that one. I'd highly recommend it. 2K Soundboy. Just have a look for it on Bandcamp. In fact, I did a stream where I kind of chopped up some of the samples from that. Then we've got a reactor pad. From a Boscamac patch, which is kind of looks like a bit like some kind of organ or Juno type thing. Phasey, sounds phasey to me. Got pulse width modulation going on, and yeah, phaser here. Is it going to a delay? It's going to an echo. Some of these noise stabs, these are coming from a reactor patch as well. UFO passing. Nice, eh? That's a good one. That's quite I really like. I really like that touch edge here. I enjoyed listening to that when I listened back to it. We've got a kind of diva shout. I know I'm skipping about all over the place here, but that is taken from, I think it's a Spectrasonics 90 CD, 90 sample CD. I've got them all in here in a nice rack, and I just scroll through them, get very frustrated when I can't find things that sound any good, because there's a lot of duds in there, to be honest, but there are some decent ones as well. And then some found sounds. I would have recorded these myself, out and about, or whatever. I think that was on the canal, and I was tapping bits of wood on a stair. That's the kind of thing I do on my lunch hour. Yeah, this is me walking along a towpath. The lengths producers will go to get realness in their tunes. See, that sounds horrible, that, but kind of in the mix is... And I'm pretty sure I just randomly copied and pasted them throughout, you know. Yeah, I don't spend time, or I tend not to anymore agonise over the placement of sounds like that, because it for a track like this, it doesn't really matter, as long as the moments that are really important, like the bass drop and stuff, are... You know, they're just imperceptible. They're there to kind of add character and like a bit of texture. There's probably some side chaining on the pads. Yes, there is, from both from the main break. I'm not sure why I've done that. I couldn't tell you why I've done that. Let's move on to the 808 before we go into the kind of techno bit. Just my own 808 bass rack. I don't even know where this comes from. Where does this come from? Okay. This was a sample from a Spitfire video, I think, actually. So yeah, okay, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? So did I save that? Yeah, Okay, great. Keep all this stuff. It's all useful. Nice 808. I've drum bussed it a bit for the transient shaper. I love this thing on 808s. Yeah, wicked. Yes. Okay, a bit of gain added. It really adds that snap. And a nice bit of reverb as well, because it gives space. Let's move on to the 303. So this I recorded myself. I just kind of bought some MIDI in. You should be able to find the video of me doing that if I link to all the times I've worked on the EP tracks in a playlist. But yeah, I just kind of recorded this in. I had to line it up a bit because it was timing wise, it was a bit off, but some reverb, occasionally some delay, compression, EQ. A big Valhalla. Just the stock. And that's just kind of coming in, and I was recording modulation as I was doing it. Adds a real nice realness to proceedings. And so then we move into kind of the techno section, the trance section. I kind of switched things up. Just lots of these hi-hat loops and stuff like this. Again, I think I just took a break from the... I've got a feeling I might have chopped some of these up and just on the timeline and saved them again. These like little hat loops and stuff. It's just from... Yeah. I think that's distorted anyway. Nice. And that comes in with some automation that I have going on, some like filtering and overdrive to kind of produce this effect. Cool. I'm reducing the reverb down here, and the overdrive will go up at some point, I'm pretty sure. Filtering, moving it. Okay, the filter's on. The filter's on, just static. I'm pulling it down. Distortion's going up, and then I know I'm going to raise this. That's just a track, isn't it, in its own right? So the pads drop out there, and we just have this stab occasionally. And I wanted that to be a bit of a herald of like a wave. It's kind of happening in a periodically, and cymbals kind of something changing, which is a nice musical effect to introduce. Blips, the found sounds, and then the returns are quite simple on this. The processing's simple, and it's largely loops. And it's kind of probably my favourite tune from the release. The mastering, I've got a Focusrite on there, probably with some EQ. It's probably just with some EQ going on. Yeah, look, a very small cuts here. I don't think I've got anything going on here. minimal stuff. You could probably get rid of it. EQA, side EQ, some CQ, very usual settings, and I tend to always do similar things, like have I boosted the low gain, and have I boosted the mid gain? I don't think I've done anything. No, I boosted the high gain very subtly, nothing else. Shadow Hills, glue compressor, black box, limiting. All right, that's kind of everything for Channel X. We'll listen to the very first session and then we'll move on to the next track. Okay, so here we are on the first session of Channel X, which was started on the 29th of April 2022, so a few days after Hypnotise. And a similar sound, and I expect I probably kept things very similar. Again, it would have been jammed out just on the APC. Let's skip forward. So that kind of lead sounds there. And you can hear the low end of this break. Let's skip forward to the drop. So it's kind of very, very similar sounding. I've got the kind of the pads are there. The 808 is exactly the same. We've got the same drum loop in there. So I've really just kind of teased out things. And I can remember deciding I'm going to make this into some kind of, I'm going to try going into a kind of techno outro. And yeah, that's kind of the first session. Interesting to see the kind of the salient ideas that have stayed throughout the process. Next up, let's have a look at Receiver. Okay, so here we are in the final version of Receiver. This is a good one to touch on because I kind of this was a bit of a wild card that was chucked in when I sent it to Go Snares. I didn't think they'd actually pick this one to release. I thought Pete actually specifically commented on it as being really good. So it just shows you, if you're not sure, just include it. Particularly if I hadn't even mixed this. I hadn't even mixed or done any mastering of any sort. There's just this limiter on it here. And I usually just do a bit of that in case. I usually master and do some kind of mastering just in case people, it doesn't go anywhere and the tune's kind of finished then. So if ever I do want to release it or play it out, it's ready to go. I try and always do some kind of quick mix or master when I'm nearing the end of a track because I don't know when I'm just going to lose interest or not going to have time to finish it. So give this one's got there's quite a lot of choppage going on and there's kind of all centered around this bongo loop. I think this was taken from Jungle Warfare, the stab. Got another 2K Soundboy pad. Kind of like effects vibes, I thought, before the break comes in. Quite a lot of chops and stuff going on in this one. Messing with the kind of accents and where the feeling of half time is. And I wanted the bass to kind of like sneak up, just like roll in without any kind of big drop or anything. Same 808 as in the last tune. And then we start to get these kind of pads coming in with this like motif that just rises and rises and kind of builds out over the end of the track. Essentially, it's kind of like a one arc tune. You know, you're kind of building, you're building and building, and there's a bit of a breakdown before it carries on going. And kind of, I had the idea to kind of start like introduce some more harmonic stuff with these pads. As it went on and on, essentially the drums would kind of fade out. Just a pitch drop I did myself. I think I could have done that better. Just little effects I've made from following Ed Rush videos. These are all my own kind of samples. I don't know what that's from. They got those kind of pads, you know. Just rising. Got a feeling I played that in on stream, that kind of lower bass pad part. And an amen comes in at this point. Build the tension before the bass came back in. It's kind of like an epic cinematic outro before the bongo comes back in, and you know, there's kind of like not much to it. It's really. It's really making the parts, you know, work, and that's always something I'm looking to do. Is not look to add extra sounds sometimes, but look to explore the sounds that are already there. And obviously, there's kind of the one hits and stuff like that. There would have been a time where I probably had sessions that were like 50 channels worth of stuff and things like that. But I know 20 is a reasonable amount, but it fits all on the screen. Nothing too fancy going on with the effects here. And really, I think they all kind of occupy a similar space. like as pieces of music. You'll see that I've used the same samples in quite a few of them, or at least the samples from the same packs. But I'm okay with that. You know, I think it's more about what you're doing with them. What's going on with this thing? It's got this cool, like, spectral delay. It's nice. It's like phasey pads on Reactor. You know, it's just a Reactor patch. That's just a stock preset. I didn't do any. It might even be going to a reverb. Just an echo. But again, I kind of didn't know if they'd be interested. It was a bit of a wild card sending this one. But yeah, I think it sounds pretty good. And I think the takeaway here is don't trust yourself if you're not sure. Just send it and let other people decide, because why do you get to pass like final judgment on if your music moves people? You know, it's how others perceive it. And like the hardest thing to kind of come to terms with is that you don't always get to enjoy it as much as other people do. You just don't. Like even if you've made a banger or something, or you're something that everyone loves, like other people are always going to enjoy it more than you, because you just hear, you know, you get moments where you can like hear it objectively, truly objectively, but largely you're just hearing what you could have done better. So yeah, I think we'll have a quick look at the very first session, then we'll move on to the final track and we'll wrap things up. So I didn't actually have too many sessions on this tune. There's probably about 7 or something like that, and I save every session, and that's been really helpful because there's been some stuff missing that I've had to re-index since I've got a new computer. So okay, look, 8 channels. Oh, this is very different. But that bongo loop is still there, and that is taken from that reworked breaks sample pack. SM Sample Magic 101. Good pack. I'll probably get into the bit here. And so it was the bongos and the pat and this thing together that I was hearing. So I chopped up the loop actually. Just got that static pad. Oh, looks like there's an amen. Okay. Bass is the same. Yeah, okay, so kind of there's similar things there. I added in the rising kind of melodic elements and the pads and the development towards the end as I work through the sessions. Okay, we'll move on to Look Ahead now, which is the final track. Okay, so yeah, this is a particularly interesting one because I can remember splurging it out, and I can remember just a patron actually suggesting a title to save it as. Yeah, what a nice thing to happen. The way kind of we consume music and interact with people who make music and how we all interact together as music makers is, you know, changed a lot with the internet, and particularly with live streaming and actually doing this stuff live. And I really like the kind of idea of it being like a collegiate process where, you know, these things needn't be hidden. I feel like I put as much of myself into these as I would do if I'd just worked on them on my own. If I'd worked on them in private. If anything, it's kind of given me impetus to sit down and work on the tracks because people are digging them as I'm working on them. There is the danger sometimes at the end you're not going to be as risky as you might be in private, and I certainly reserve some sessions where I want to try new things or I want to do stuff where I'm a bit unsure. But then again, I do tell myself as well that I should just get out there and just try it in front of people, because everyone's in the same boat. Whatever they say, everyone's doing the same thing. They're trying new things. They're trying new techniques. They're learning all the time. It's a revealing thing, but it's also a really nice, like, community-based thing that we can all kind of share in it and feed into the process. So this is Look Ahead. So again, the kind of stabs, they're coming from the Om Unit pack. I mean, 300 chords. It's got some hi-hats going on for the DJs. Got a nice swirling pad. That's probably coming from... That's a Omni pad. Is it? No? It's worth skipping to the kind of breakdown before we got like a new bass section. Yeah, so kind of, it's an amen track. It switches up halfway through. You kind of got a dread bass coming in. It's built around my kind of thing of these drilly amen patterns, and there's some kind of big fills that happen at different points around like this. With just a filter on the RX 950. And some automation going on I don't even know if we have any on that. We don't. No, it's just coming from like reverse cymbals and stuff like that. So the bass, they're all taken from Jungle Warfare, and I probably feel a bit like a fraud just but it kind of is it's what you do with them. It's what you do with the samples. It doesn't really matter where you get them from, because we've all been there, haven't we? You've got all the samples in the world at your fingertips, but you can't finish a track with them. So, I think it's absolutely fine to use samples from anywhere, and it's really about the piece of music that you create as a whole at the end of it. So there's kind of like different breaks coming in. We've got like the amen and the think. RX 950, a bit of reverb that I'll probably introduce. Little like amen chops that are coming in throughout it, kind of, and they're going to effects at different points. Just the delays. Sidechained at points. Various modulation going. This is quite an interesting thing I think I did. Yeah, so it's worth talking about this. On the amen itself, I had it going to this kind of Carpler strong, it's like a Sully fives effect. Same thing he uses in the tune fives, which is just a very short delay. In fact, I'm going to save this because I've used this, which is, I've mapped all the pitches, macro snapshot to a delay. Yeah. And then that is being sent to another echo, which has got a kind of modulation, 100% on the filter, going at a rate of kind of one measure, synced, no feedback, and you're getting this kind of, it's very subtle. I think it gives like a sheen. The amens are just taken from the kind of same amen rack I've used in all of these tunes, where I've used the patterns that I've created, but then I've kind of chopped them up a lot further and rejigged them. They're just there to start with. Just pitch automation there. I think we're in the key of F for this. The bass, yeah, again, is just it's got some reverb on it. Just a stock sample from going to a very tight room. It sounds almost like it's an ambience. Yep, medium ambience. We've got hi-hat loops going on. We've got a think. And all of the breaks are being sent to this kind of strange... I was keen to not like just copy Sully, and it was more just kind of taken taken as an inspiration, as something that kind of helped colour the track a little bit. We have these kind of dub stabs, and again, a lot of stuff is just coming from these harmonic chords. So sounds like something you can get in a dub tune, that, you know. It's me playing it on the piano. It's just a fifth and an octave. Because it sounds like it's... It's got another note in it anyway, which when you change, you're going to get these weird sound, like... Very nice. Yeah, the main melodic motif was this. Again, just to... had this delay on it. Now the vocal gate effect, we can actually see this in action where I have got a vocal that is being gated by a bass drum sample. Yeah, and it's quite a clicky bass drum. So you can see the thing is happening here, and it's got a delay, auto pan, and it's being gated. I've sidechained the gate so that it's being gated against... It's being sidechained by the drums. You can get these really nice, like, stuttery staccato patterns. It's great. You know, you can... kind of with that sound with the breaks works really well. You know, particularly if you make the breaks super stuttery. Very nice. There's reverse cymbals. They're all a bit all over the place because there would have been one time where I was like really bothered about how I organise my sets. But now, just as they're nearing the end, it's kind of like, as long as it doesn't kind of distract me when I'm working on it, I just leave it in, or just don't worry about ordering things. I've got some blips, some Atari blips. These are quite good. I am going to save these as well because they're really cool. I think these were just taken from Rhythm Lab. Lovely, eh? So usable for jungle. We've got another thing here. I'll also be saving those. There's some like anime sound effects rack that I've made from an old sample CD or samples that I found on Archive. A time stretch of I think it was just taken from the 2K Soundboy pack. There's some more of those. I think I stuck those in just right at the end because I just felt it needed a bit more, some more samples. Stuff like that. Oh, and there's more gated vocal effects. So did I... Yeah, this was doing the kind of... I might have even just chopped this up. Did I chop that up? That looks quite labour intensive, but I guess I did. These would all be things that I would have done at the end as well. These were definitely icing bits. But the main thing would have been the breaks. You can see I've got all these patterns that they kind of never repeat. processing wise, there's not much on anything RX 950s. The main thing would have been around balancing the volumes. You know, I wouldn't have been too worried about processing stuff unless I thought it really needed it. Maybe some EQ. And then on the master, we've just got my kind of chain again, which I've already spoken through. You know, it's the same things. I like to use things that I know and I understand and that I can get results with. Okay, obviously there's limiting added. So that's without mastering. So that's without it. I think that kind of does a good job. But yeah, all of them have been mastered by Ghost Snares anyway. So these are just kind of what I apply so that I know that the track's ready, the track's done to an extent. I mean, we'll just very quickly listen to the very first jam for comparison, and then I'll wrap up with my thoughts. Okay, so this is the first session for Look Ahead, 23rd of April. So, it's taken about a year for them to actually, you know, be done and dusted and coming out. Pad's still in there. Some mad effects. What are these? 0G vocal rack. Jungle effects rack of some sort. I got that. Save that. So that's still there. Oh, I need to save the unmuted ones. Oh, I had a worm in there as well. So that's going to some kind of strange effects. But like broadly similar. The bass line hasn't changed. It could well even be the same pattern. We've still got the Think in there. I got rid of the worm. In fact, I might just save the worm because I don't have this. Yeah, so but broadly speaking, it's the same. I've got the same Amen in there. I did some more processing on it. I added in the kind of Sully things on the channels. I would have had it 8 channels so that I could have had a little jam on my APC and then it gets laid down. Yeah, those are all 4 tracks on the EP, and I realised that was quite a long video, but I hope you've stuck around to the end. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up, leave a comment if you have any questions about any of the things I've covered. So I think like one of the main takeaways from this is that a lot of these tracks, looking back through them, you know, I've used the same samples. I've used the preset amens that I've kind of prepared and chopped up myself, and I've reused them. I've really dug into the sounds. It's given it a kind of cohesion, I think, which is quite good. And I've used a lot of samples by other people, but they've worked. And, you know, when I'm listening to it or when I send it to people, they don't say, oh, I heard that preset or I heard that sample from the Om Unit pack, or that's the Jungle Warfare bass, or they just enjoy the tune. And I'm really just saying that because I've noticed that I've used a lot of the same things again and again. But for me, it was about getting ideas down quickly and just working with the things that I've thrown down. I don't care too much about their provenance or their providence, or whichever the term is. It's more about writing music that moves people and that I think works, and I'll use whatever samples I can. Okay, so I am definitely going to wrap this one up now. I'd like to say thanks to all my supporters on Patreon. I'll be packaging up all of these and I'll be putting them as sets on my Patreon. The EP is coming out on the 24th of April 2023. I'm also playing a live set the weekend before, a launch party around it, and that's just going to be a kind of improvised live set. That's going to do it for today, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you around for another video soon. Cheers.